when adding and subtracting integers, you want to visualize a number line. So in order to draw a number line on your paper, you want to mark 0 somewhere near the middle. Every other mark is the distance from 0. Numbers to the right are positive. So here would be 1, 2 away from 0, 3, and so forth. And numbers to the left are negative. So this would be -1, -2, because these tick marks are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 away from 0, but negative because they are to the left. So when adding and subtracting using your number line, you first want to mark where you begin on the number line. So the number I'm starting with is 3. So I can just say, hey, that would be 3, which means this is 2, 1, and there is where our 0, this is where our negative numbers would start on this number line. So if adding, you're going to move to the right. So since we're adding, we move to the right, and we are adding 5. So if I add 5, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is where we're going to end up. That is at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 3 plus 5 equals 8. If you are subtracting, you need to move to the left. So here we have a positive 3. So let's just say, hey, 3 is right there, and we want to subtract 5. So let's go to the left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where we're going to end up. Let's figure out what that number is. So if that's 3, this is a 2, 1, 0, -1, -2. So 3 minus 5 is -2. Next example, we are now starting with a -3. Let's just say that's -3. And since we are adding 5, we now move to the right 5. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where we end up. Let's figure out what that number is. If this is -3 right here, then next to it's -2, -1, 0, 1, and +2. So that is where we end up. -3 plus 5 equals 2. Last example. Common misunderstanding is that 2 negatives make a positive. 2 negatives only make a positive when multiplying. -3 times -5 is a positive 15. However, here we are subtracting. So start with your -3. Let's call it right here. And we are going to the left because this says -5. So let's subtract 5, go to the left, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these negatives are getting bigger. -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, and finally -8. -3 minus 5 gives us -8. So adding and subtracting integers. Notice there's a couple stars here because you could add a negative number. Adding a negative number is the same as subtraction. What do we mean? Right here, we have the addition of a negative number. That is the same as 3 minus 2. It doesn't matter if that first number is negative or not. We have the addition of a negative number. That's the same as -4 minus 1. Notice adding a negative becomes subtraction. Adding a negative becomes subtraction. Then you can simplify those answers. Subtracting a negative number. In this example, we're talking about subtracting. Subtracting a negative is the same as what? same as addition. What do we mean? Let's look at two examples. Here you notice we have minus a negative 2. That's the same as adding 2. Doesn't matter if that first number is negative. Does not matter if your starting point is negative. What matters is that you are subtracting a negative 1, which is the same as addition. Notice these two negatives become plus. These two negatives become plus, and then you can simplify. Sometimes it makes sense to rearrange the order of addition and subtraction. What do we mean? Well, 3 plus 4 is the same as 4 plus 3. All we did is just switch the order of those two. If you switch the order, notice this negative 2 is still negative. This positive 5, still positive. We don't change the sign. Down here, we had a negative 7, still negative. And then right here, negative 5, still negative. Now the example that's probably the most important, that will help you the most, is when you have a negative number plus a number that is bigger than it, right here. This turns into simple subtraction. That's probably its best use when rearranging addition and subtraction. If you rearrange it and it doesn't become easier, if you feel it's not easier, right, then don't switch it. You don't have to. So let's go through some examples. Right here, first example is negative 2 plus 3. Start at negative 2, add 1, 2, 3, and identify where you end up is 1. Same thing happens when adding, but if you're adding a negative number, you got to go the opposite way, because this is the same as 4 minus 8. So you start at positive 4 and subtract 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You end up at negative 4. So go ahead and try number 1 on your own. Circle your starting number, which is 4. Since this problem has parentheses, this is the same as 4 minus 5. So let's go to the left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We end up at negative 1. Next example, mark your starting number, which is negative 7. And then which direction are we going now? Well, we're adding 2, so go to the right 1, 2. Notice this is not a larger negative. We didn't end up over at negative 9. No, we are at negative 5. Number 3. Here, we start at negative 3, and we are adding negative 4. This is the same as negative 3 minus 4, so we're going to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we end up at negative 7. Final two, 4 and 5. This is just simple addition. 1 plus 7 gives us 8. And then let's try number 5. Mark your starting number, which is 3, right over here. And we are adding negative 12. That's the same as subtracting 12. So go to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I need all the way up at negative 9. Here are some examples of subtracting integers. Notice we're at negative 2 minus 1. We move to the left and end up at negative 3. But over here, since we are subtracting a negative number, this is the same as 2 plus 2. So we move to the right 1, 2, and end up at 4. So let's try one. Mark your starting number, which is 1. Here we are. Since we are subtracting 10, we move to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're at negative 9. I'll leave it right there so you can see stuff. Number 2, we're starting at 0. That's okay. You can start at 0. And we are subtracting negative 7. This is the same as 0 plus 7. So add 7. You're at 7. Number 3, we are starting at negative 6. And since we are subtracting 2, we're making it a bigger negative. We're now at negative 8. Last 2. Positive 5 minus 4, that's simple subtraction. You're at 5. You subtract 4, you are now at 1. And then this one, you start at negative 8, but make sure you recognize this parentheses. Subtracting a negative 8 is the same as, subtracting a negative 3 is the same as adding 3. So move to the right 1, 2, 3, and we end up at negative 5.